check him out over there once it's done. We're casting it as long as we're allowed to today. So, originally agreed upon was like we cast the group stage B and that's it. But they may ask us to do the semifinals depending on time. So we'll stick around for what we can. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, but we get into another best of 3. This is the losers portion of Group B for the Starbow Invitational Tournaments. Spawning in the lower left corner of the map, a man who was once Protoss, but now Zerg. It's going to be RSVP.
And upper right, as the blue Protoss, it is TT1.
Now, a small thing about TT1, guys. Unfortunately, he was late to the party. The admins were actually pretty cool about it, though. They, rather than say, nope, you're screwed out of the tournament, goodbye, thanks for being late, they said, all right, no, you can come in. You just have to take the loss that you had earlier. So, rather than completely disqualifying him, he only lost the first round as the walkover that went out to Innovation. But we'll see how he handles here against RSVP, if he can try and get back into things. Of course, Innovation, currently 2-0 in the group, is the only one who's really got a score deciding anything so far.
Right, he's already out. No, he's not. Yes, he is.
Yeah, 2-0 pretty much secures you, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, 2-0 in the two 2-0s, technically.
Well, I was gonna say, like, unless group stages have changed from my...
No, you're right. Yeah, so he's already out. So it is going to be one final spot between RSVP, TT1, and of course Ryung. Not too hard to see who's the favorite, but as I was saying, TT1, if he's been playing, and he has some Starbow tricks up his sleeve, I suppose, then he could definitely take games off of Ryung. For sure.
I promise, and I'm still gonna try not to really overdo the dumbed down speech, guys. But what's worth noting here, real quick, to the casual fan, Starbow Zerg and Starbow Protoss are very different from what you're used to seeing. At least, well, especially in the early games. Two of the key factors that are removed from the game: one, there's no warping mechanic till like tier 3, and even then, it's kind of a garbage thing that people actually elect not to go for on purpose, because it's a little bit worse than using gateways to build units. Secondly, for Zerg, Queens were changed drastically. They kind of hit a little bit harder, but they no longer have an auto attack. They have to like on-activate their ability. It's called Enrage, and it makes them look really cool.
Yep, just like the Carbot Queens.
Pretty much, actually. Yeah, that's the first thing that does come to mind. But as far as everything else goes, I think they swapped Roaches and Hydra, so Roaches are now like tier 2, Hydras are tier 1. Lurkers were brought back into the game, and we've seen a lot of Protoss so far. So, yeah, the matchup's not at all what it was. There's no Colossus to worry about. They've been replaced by the Reavers, which are very limited in use. Lurkers are a huge addition to the Zerg army. Scourges have been brought back in. Defilers. If we get to Defilers, I'm going to nerd out like hardcore, but so far in the early game, we got one Zealot poking across the map from TT1, and it's not going to be a big problem, though, with these Lings.
No, but a lot more Zealots should be coming out. He did a 1 gateway expand, and you do want to, try and harass, or at the very least get a good scouting with the Zealots that you are getting. The other one is being sent across the map, and in fact, TT1's using them for all types of things. Not only for scouting that third base, but eventually also for actually, killing these Lings, which is so far being very nicely microed.
Yeah. It's worth noting too, sorry, one last thing to bring up about the differences in the game before I forget.
First blood.
Creep is actually quite different in Starbow 2. Creep no longer provides a speed bonus, but a very small inherent regeneration bonus. So there we have it. I think that covers the basics of it. Anyways, Metabolic Boost coming up with more Lings on the way. Tefl, I think it was playing in some of the ESL Cups, was doing a lot of Hydralisk all-ins early on to follow up after Zerglings, and it can be really effective against Protoss players who are unprepared for it, because you're not used to seeing Hydras or ranged units come from Zerg early on.
Yeah, Hydralisk all-ins can be very, very scary. You need to build a lot of cannons while you try and get up some splash tech. It's kind of cool to watch, but see if that is RSVP's plan.
I like TT1's. I like his positioning here. 3 Zealots on hold spot. This should be able to hold off against the Lings initially.
This is a lot of Lings. I feel like he...
Let's not forget, Chrono Boost makes units come out 100% faster, too. It's not like a 50% boost, so even if he loses all these Zealots, making new ones is not going to be too difficult.
Speed did finish, by the way, so they are able to run past those Zealots. The Dragoon pops out and is going to try and... Yeah, doesn't get surrounded. So was that really worth it from RSVP? Yeah, he got through, but only at the cost of more than, more than half his Lings. Okay, 2 probe kills.
Like, he's not made up for this yet. No, definitely not. Because the other thing on top is he cut workers. Like, this isn't just him losing Lings. He cut workers to make this happen, so he has to secure kills. And it kind of looks like that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't think it was worth it. I think TT1 saw that's what was happening, and You know, otherwise he would not have had been mindful of how perfect that wall of zealots was. You know, like one slip up and they're past, and it's a lot bigger of a headache. These overlords are so brave.
Yeah, I didn't realize there's 2 up here till just now. The thing is, though, guys, unlike regular StarCraft 2, early sort of quote-unquote all-ins like this are not as devastating. Again, being on 2 bases, you can recover off of this, but it's certainly not a cost-effective way to start this game. I mean,
yeah, and losing the overlords too. He's gonna actually be supply blocked.
We don't actually. Especially it's not cost-effective, but resources lost is reflecting actually a little bit not too bad here. The 200 additional resources, of course, from the overlords just a moment ago, but
yeah. We have a fairly fast lair. Still, no, well, actually, he puts down the 3rd right now, but still, you know, kind of a late 3rd. I wonder what he's going to use this lair for. I mean, of course, Hydralisk attacks with their upgrades are very powerful, but, you know, mutas can definitely do a lot of damage too. I mean, they're not the same as StarCraft 2 mutas as Protoss, but it is going to be that case.
I kind of wish, by the way, this queen model, the Swarm Queen, it's from the campaign, guys, so it's not like unique to Starbow, but I wish this was like something you could unlock for like multiplayer. This instead of the Lings would be nice. The Lings with those wings are so annoying to look at.
There's actually no reason for them not to, since it's already being programmed into whatever. Never mind.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion for like another time where we just get mad over nothing, but I do like the way it looks. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, okay. Aspire. Mutas, I mean, you're going to do decently against mutas.
Yeah, and you're not going to see Stalkers with Blink anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's not really the response. But Corsairs, guys, have been brought back to Starbow, and they're really good at dealing with Mutalisks. For those who don't know what a Corsair was, or maybe you weren't a big fan of Brood War, the thing about it is it's an air unit that can only shoot other air units. It attacks insanely fast, but does very little damage, but it splashes at the same time. And Mutalisks are very notorious for clumping, both in StarCraft 2 and Starbow.
Yeah. So TT1's actually going for speed. That's not going to really work out against Mutalisk, of course. So he's going to have not very much anti-air. And remember, of course, without Warp Gate, you can't really react as fast as you would, you know, by saying, "Oh crap, there's Mutalisk. Let me warp in a few Stalkers." You got to go back home and make them actually. So this attack, it's not going to work. And unfortunately, you don't have a recall to get out of there.
I don't know that it's not going to work. There's so many Zealots here. The Mutalisks don't have a huge DPS burst or anything like that. Like, these are going to get kills. This army's going to die, 100%. The question is, can he get enough kills before it goes down?
Yeah, that's actually a super good point. It's like, you know, the Roach Attack versus and the ZVZ against someone who did mutas.
Actually, it's exactly that. Exactly, yeah. Just trying to keeps the Mutas at home. As we see, the Queen enrages, and it looks really cool. Does a ton of damage, but doesn't attack nearly as fast as it does in StarCraft 2. And he's also trying to knock down the natural Nurturing Swarm, goes into it as there's no longer Transfuse, but looks like the hatchery will stand alive. And if this had gone down, this would have been a great attack for TT1, but unfortunately not the case.
You know, he didn't get the hatchery, and I guess he didn't get a whole lot of drone kills, but the drone count is still really worrying. It's 22 to 49 in TT1's favor. I mean, he doesn't have much of an army anymore, but he can definitely rebuild one where RSVP is trying to, you know, purely drone up right now. You know, that's all the mutas he's going to have. It's not that scary amount of mutas that you could be used to seeing.
I got some Archons in response to the Mutalisks. A bit of a curious choice, because just like StarCraft 2, Archons are slow and clunky and not great at catching Mutalisks. If the Mutalisks come to the Archon wins in a hard, big way. But Corsair's kind of the, I don't know, the Phoenix type reaction, the one that's a little bit more expected.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get up to it though, and a lot of people are like, well, it's just gonna take too long. So we do see RSVP going for a Hydralisk then afterwards, so not gonna go for a maybe mass Mutalisk, you know, only Mutalisk. Actually gonna transition maybe into just Hydras, but also Lurkers.
I was gonna say it's probably gonna be for Lurkers more than Mutalisks, but RSVP is showing us some pretty good control. He's pulling back all the weak Mutalisks, and they don't have, I believe the tissue regen, I'm not sure the mechanics of it. They still have tissue regen, but it's not like as insane as it is in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, they don't have the, what was a buff, you know, for Heart of the Swarm. They don't have that.
Mutalisks, by the way, guys, if you want to go really old school here, they can turn into either Guardians or Devourers, so...
Yeah.
I think actually, the last time I was casting with you, we were making the stupid Guardian noises, like woof woof!
Yeah, we were. So if you guys don't know what those are, Guardians, they only shoot the ground, and they're like crabs. They're like Broodlords, kind of, without the free units. And,
well, they got a huge range, right? I mean, that's the key thing about them.
That too, yeah. Devourers actually shoot. They're good anti-air. But you rarely ever see that. I mean, I don't know what's used yet, less Devourers or...
I've never seen a Devourer in a single Starbow game that I've cast so far, so it's pretty safe to say they're pretty neither are really used a lot, and one's used even less than the other. And his Mutas are going to fly past this army. He does see it, though, so opting to turn around instead. Got to be so careful with 4 Archons. That's going to melt these Mutalisks. They can't... gosh, if they clump, they're screwed.
Speedlot Archon is really powerful, and it's the case that RSVP just doesn't have an economy. I mean, look what the supply is, and it's because he's been under 30 drones for so long.
Yeah, he never really took time to just straight drone up this game.
Yeah, Hydralisks, like, they're okay, but actually Speedlots, when they get up close to him, not so much. Same with Archons, and that's what's going to happen.
Well, 2 Spine Crawlers. I don't know why he's got 4 drones idly not mining. There we go. Puts him back to work, but again, the problem is like, oh god, TT1 thinks his opponent's got a 3rd up here, but that's not even the case. Like, I don't think he realizes how just behind RSVP is.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Did give away 2 Archons, which was very nice of him, so maybe the Mutas can be a little more effective, but with 3, still probably not.
Love that they brought the Hydralisk sound effect back for the attack. I definitely love this more than the little...
Yes. They changed it to the spitting rather than the needling.
Yeah, you can see like the green stuff coming out of the mouth. But I gotta be honest, I don't think RSVP can take a fight that could win his life or win this game for him, because there's too many Zealots for the Hydralisk to deal with, and there's too many Archons for the Mutalisks to deal with, and it's just looking not so hot right now.
Yeah, you know, you might be saying like, what was RSVP thinking? Like, what was his build? And seriously, like, a different scenario. I'm sure this this build is like a 1-2 punch. You know, like the Ling attack, and then suddenly there's Mutas in your face, and then there's a Lurker, and you're like, well, I can't have to deal with this. But TT1 is like totally cool with this entire game.
Yeah, even with +2 weapons there at the end. GG is called, and TT1 takes game number 1. This is a great way for him to come back into this, guys. I do remind you, he was almost completely disqualified, but coming back strong for sure.